Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Folks, today's Thursday, January 16th, 2025, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. California wildfires are causing widespread destruction, loss of life, more than 9,000 buildings have been destroyed. The family of a victim of the Eaton fire is now suing a power company for wrongful death. We'll talk to their attorney, Ben Crump, and the victim's brother about why they believe the power company is to blame. California Governor Gavin Newsom, he's kissing the Trump ring. He's going to join GOP governors around the country in raising the U.S. flag to full height on Inauguration Day. Of course, it was lowered as a result of the death of former President Jimmy Carter. No charges will be filed in 2 cases involving the deaths of black men at the hands of law enforcement. The families of Louisiana's Ronald Greene and Washington, D.C.'s Justin Robinson will not receive the justice they deserve. Rudy Giuliani has decided to settle with the 2 black Georgia election workers he continuously defamed. And Vice President Kamala Harris, she's upheld a tradition carried on by vice presidents since the 1940s with a ceremonial desk signing. I was there and will bring it to you. It's time to bring the funk. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Homeowners and renters who lost their homes in the Eaton fire in the Los Angeles area, plus family members who have lost loved ones, are now suing the electric company Southern California Edison. The family of 59-year-old Evelyn McClendon says Edison failed to turn off utilities despite clear warnings about extremely dangerous fire conditions, leading to catastrophic consequences. The Eaton fire has killed at least 16 people and has damaged or destroyed more than 7,000 structures. Attorney Ben Crump and McClendon's brother Zaire Calvin join us right now. I'm glad to have both of you here. Zaire, apologies for the loss of your loved one, and so our condolences certainly go out to you and the family as well. Ben, we'll start with you. Lay out to us the foundation of this case, or this lawsuit.
Certainly, Roland. It's just tragic beyond words what happened to the city of Altadena, a very prideful black community. Zaire can talk more about it than I can, but in less than an hour, 200 acres burnt down to the ground of black people having worked for these homes with their blood, sweat, and tears to be able to give it to their children and have generational wealth gone in a matter of minutes. And tragically, worse than the property damage is the loss of life. Zaire lost his sister, Evelyn McClendon, a school bus driver, salt of the earth, a black angel. And she literally, Roland, died there in her house with, like so many others, with nobody coming to their rescue. And there was a failure to warn because on January 3rd, Con Edison Energy Company had got the warning. They were told directly that de-energize the power. It is a potential catastrophic occurrence about to happen. You had 100-mile winds. And so they predicted that they should turn off the power. They didn't. That was on January 3rd. She died on January 7th. They gave no warnings to the people in Altadena, that proud black community. And really, at the crux of the matter, they had 50 other faults telling them in that 4-day period to turn off the power, because had they turned off the power, people would have said, what's going on? People would have left and they would have been saved. The first time they got notice that they were in jeopardy was when the transmitters blew up and the fire started. And that's when they turned off the energy. So that's why we're suing Con Edison for the wrongful death of Evelyn McClendon. And we all should say her name and all those other black people, because there's a tendency, Roland, in these tragedies that people will focus in on the Palisades and the more affluent communities, and they often forget the black communities.
Zaire, do you live there in the Los Angeles area?
Yes, I grew up, my whole family, my whole life lived in Altadena. My family's hearts are shattered as we're still trying to wrap our minds around the loss of my sister. This is absolutely a travesty. We lost 2 family properties. That's just my family. All my cousins are displaced. Hundreds of Altadena's multi-generational African American brothers and sisters and cousins and friends have all lost their homes to this devastation in our community caused by this fire and caused by Edison.
What Ben described, has that been the normal procedure when there have been dry conditions in terms of how power is turned off and residents are notified?
Yes, I mean, they're supposed to protect. I mean, you think that the utility company is going to protect the citizens and the actual people are more important than leaving the electricity or collecting $1. It would make more sense to take off and turn it off and protect your people that are living there in the community. So I don't understand why they wouldn't turn it off. And we were outside. I was having a training because we do training I have a program called Extreme Athletics. We were literally training that night when we're running up and down the hill. We see the fire ignite and start. And then now later, I come to find out there's a video of where it started. And it's so disheartening. And if you just can understand all of your friends, this is the hardest part. All of your friends in one community, all of your friends, your family, your cousin who's been there for 30, 40, 50 years, who've worked a lifetime to build this type of generational wealth, which is literally through housing, because we don't do stocks and bonds. I'm just learning that myself. And that's the only thing that was passed on. And to see that happen and it be gone in a flash, and my sister literally found my sister, to find her remains because of this is it's mind-blowing and it's hurtful, and we can't even wrap our minds around it as a family.
Ben, you walked us through. I mean, first of all, it's devastating to listen to what Zaire just laid out there. You walked us through these warnings and these different notifications, and so who did those come from? Did that come from the city, the county, the state?
Yeah, it was the state officials. You see, Roland, these wildfires, as we all know, is nothing new to California. They actually have enacted legislation to say what the energy companies must do. It is enumerated in our lawsuit that they fell for California codes that the legislature passed after the Malibu fires with PG&E, where so many people lost their lives and their homes. So they were on notice. They were told that it could happen. You need to de-energize the power. And so that is why people are so upset. Why didn't the California Edison Power Company cut off the power? it would have been as simple, we believe, as hitting a switch. And they made whatever decision. We don't know if it was profit over safety, but they made a decision that they were not going to turn off that power. And unlike the Palisades, Altadena situation is different because it can be completely tracked back to the transmitter and the power lines. I mean, they have video, as Zaire says, showing how that fire started, and it went like that. In less than 1 hour, Roland Martin, 200 acres of houses. And if you can imagine a populated area like Los Angeles, 200 acres, how many houses are in those 200 acres? How many lives are affected? So Zaire, I mean, he has talked about the black people in that community, how they loved on one another. And my concern, Roland Martin, is that, you know, others get more attention. They had the statistics that say, in these tragedies, white families get on average $126,000 from relief aid. Black people only get $36,000. And so you lost your home, your cars, everything. We got to make them whole. We cannot let them sweep this under the rug and treat Altadena like second-class citizens. We will rebuild this black community.
There are a lot of, obviously, you have to contend with being your sister. There are a lot of folks, like yourself, who've lost everything. And so how are others coming to your aid? Are you getting the assistance that you need? Just give us a sense of all of that, Zaire.
So as a community, the community is strong, and that's the blessing part of all of this. Everyone is kind of sticking together, but to give you, and it's so sad to say, when you're talking to your cousins and your neighbors and all your friends, and we all are on group chats, every race, every creed, every kind, everybody's talking together, helping each other while everyone has lost everything. So everyone who's trying to help each other the most are all the same people who've lost everything. And that's the part that people don't understand. They're the ones doing the work. They're the ones running around looking up services, sending out text and seeing what help can be out there. They're the ones, all the ones who've lost everything are the ones doing the work, who are literally, as a community, literally bonding together to try to bring resources to each other. I just had a mom, Myra, she won't mind me saying her name. I'm talking about before I just got on, who's calling me, who literally was like, Z, what do I do? Everything's gone. She lived right up the street. I coached her son. She's like, everything is gone. And now I'm just trying to figure out what to do, how to step, how to move. So it's literally us just passing resources to each other to build our community back. And I don't want anybody to have to endure this type of pain as a community. I don't want anybody's community, I don't care what race you are, especially Black, because we've been through enough, to have to endure this kind of pain and frustration and just everything that's going on.
Well, there's no amount of money that can be given to bring a loved one back, but certainly we hope answers are received by you and the other families as to what happened here with this devastating fire. Zaire Calvin, we appreciate you joining us. Attorney Ben Crump, we appreciate you joining us as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Roland.
Folks, going to go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? Look, Fanbase is more than a platform. It's a movement to empower creators, offering a unique opportunity for everyday people to invest in Black-owned tech, infrastructure, and help shape the future of social media. Investing in technology is essential for creating long-term wealth and influence in the digital age. The Black community must not only consume tech, we must own it.
Discover how equity crowdfunding can serve as a powerful tool for funding Black businesses, allowing entrepreneurs to raise capital directly through their community through the Jobs Act.
Coming soon to the Black Star Network.
But y'all, when you're on that stage, or when you're and you're seeing 2 and 3, 4 generations in the audience, that's got to speak to you about the power of what y'all have become.
Oh, most definitely. I think we were doing our show before our break, and remember, I was watching this kid. I could not take my eyes off him because he was about 9 or so. He was sitting in the front row with his
over on the right-hand
parents.
side. Yes.
I was amazed that this kid knew everything, and I was like tripping to see how many songs this kid actually knew.
And he knew them all.
And he knew them all. We had to go over there and bring him on stage and take a picture with him, at the end of the show and stuff, because it was just that amazing. It's like, this is crazy.
The music travels everywhere, like what Philip was saying, seeing this young kid, then you hear our songs on commercials, cold commercials. Then you have the younger ones that hear our music in animation.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, my panel, Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show on Sirius XM Radio out of Washington, D.C. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University out of D.C. Neam B. Carter, Associate Professor, School of Public Policy, University of Maryland, also author of American, White, Black, African Americans, Immigration and the Limits of Citizenship. Glad to have all three of you here. I'll start with you, Neam. This is... when you look at the devastation in Los Angeles, and, there were a lot of people in the first few days who kept harping on celebrities and not understanding that whether you're a celebrity or not, when you lose everything, this is not some possession has been stolen out of your car and then you're going back to your home or whatever. This is everything. It's clothes, it's memory, it's jewelry, it's all of your possessions, and people are left with nothing. The equity they had was in their homes. That's all you had, and all of that is gone. You had insurance companies that pulled out of the state. No one knows how many of these homes were not insured. And people, and you listen to, and then of course you compound that with the folks who died, 16, and there are people, many that are still missing. And so I think a lot of these people who are out here, who are commenting and saying all sorts of stuff and trying to place blame, including the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald Trump, folk need to understand and have some sense of compassion and empathy for this type of devastation.
Absolutely. And, condolences to the young man that was just on and all the folks who have lost their loved ones and their homes. And I think this speaks to this broader callousness that is at work in this country. And we've seen it happen with other tragedies. We saw what happened with the hurricanes in Texas. We saw what happened with Katrina in New Orleans. I mean, you go down the list. And when you think about the devastation that is caused to Black communities by these kinds of losses, we can't simply say, well, that's what you have insurance for, because as you noted, a lot of people were in that period where they were going to re-up their insurance, renew their insurance. If some people didn't pay by January 7th, they are not covered. So there are quite a few people who will not be able to recoup whatever they lost. And as you noted, most people's wealth was tied up in their homes. So if people had done anything like refinancing and had mortgages to pay, the most that they can hope for is to pause that mortgage for a year. But whether they're able to rebuild their homes or not, they're still going to have to pay back those banks. So we are talking about generations of consequences from this natural disaster. And as you noted, unfortunately, people are using this for political fodder. I mean, you have people who are already figuring out how they can be wealthy. I mean, people who are already prospecting and essentially buying property or attempting to buy property from these beleaguered homeowners for cents on the dollar because they're thinking about what it's going to be like when it comes back. And we saw similar things happen in New Orleans after Katrina and other things. I think what always ends up happening in these cases is the people who are least able to cope with this loss are summarily forgotten. And we have to remember there are a lot of Black folks in this city, in this particular devastation, who will not be back in Altadena, who will not be able to rebuild their homes, who will not be able to recoup the financial loss from this moment, and what that's going to look like for generations to come in a state that has seen the Black wealth go down exponentially as the cost of housing has risen. It's going to be far more difficult for Black communities to rebuild than I think most people are appreciating right now.
Reese.
Yeah, I think that it's just so horrific and tragic. I think you make such a good point about the equity. You know, there was decades of equity in many of these homes that people were probably being responsible by not tapping into with refinancing and being more cash rich, but, you know, having higher mortgages that now they will not be able to access because, you know, insurance doesn't cover equity. It covers rebuilding if you're lucky enough to be insured. But I think that, you know, it's definitely a tale of the way the racial lens that is applied to these tragedies. To the extent that Blackness has been given an outsized amount of attention in this tragedy has been to cast aspersions on Mayor Karen Bass, to accuse quote unquote DEI of being something that has contributed to these fires, which is absurd. And not enough attention has been on the community of Altadena and the working people throughout all of the fires that have been impacted of different races. I mean, I covered Altadena on my show on Saturday, but certainly there should be a lot more attention on this. But I will say I am heartened by the grassroots. I'm glad that we still have that, the grassroots galvanization that we've seen on social media and in person that has surrounded this community. And I hope that that kind of support and empathy sustains, even if we cannot necessarily break through on the so-called mainstream media lens with that kind of focus.
Great.
I add my sympathy, prayers. Listening to Zaire was heartbroken. It's just heartbreaking. I can't imagine finding my sister's remains. Again, you know, this community, which existed initially, you know, African people moving out there in the 1930s and 40s, because redlining practices weren't there. And so now you have a community that has been devastated, like say thousands of acres, thousands of people displaced. You know, I was telling my students today, when you think about Pasadena and Altadena is where Jack Roosevelt Robinson's mother moved them out of Cairo, Georgia, to the West Coast. And so Jackie Robinson spent his early childhood there on Pepper Street, and you know, went to John Muir High School. And I was reading that one of the coaches at Muir High School concerned because all his students suffering and worried about his own house. And I've got a couple of students, the Ben sisters. One's in school at Howard now, and her big sister graduated a few years ago, both of them in African American Studies department. and she hasn't come back to school yet. And I was talking with the students who were letting me know that, you know, they are one of the many families that have GoFundMe set up and have been receiving donations. And I'm raising that finally for this point, as we just heard, the whole idea that our communities are resilient, even in the middle of this incredible tragedy, where everything, including for some, lives have been lost. The rebuild already being marshaled, not just the people there in Altadena, not just the people in the wake of the Eaton fire and everywhere else, but from around the country and around the world, people who I've seen a spreadsheet from the GoFundMes just of black families. And of course, this fire knows no color. I'm not saying that, but in terms of what Attorney Crump is raising here, you know, we're going to help. We're going to help each other. And that help is pouring in from all over the place, and therein lies the hope.
Indeed, indeed. And so we will continue to bring you these stories and also keep you up to date on what is happening with the resources that are being raised by so many of these families. Going to go to break. We come back. We're going to talk about California Governor Gavin Newsom. What the hell is he doing on bending knee to Donald Trump? I got to talk about this here. But also, before we go to the break, folks, don't forget, support the work that we do here. What we have to recognize is that we are facing dark and difficult days ahead, as Dr. King once said, as he said on April 3rd, 68. And what is coming at us from the thugs who will be occupying that building 2 blocks from here, we will be directly targeted. Black folks will be directly targeted. And if there's any moment for black-owned media to have a backbone, to actually cover news, not gossip, not bullshit. I don't care about who's the GOAT between MJ or LeBron. I don't have time for a lot of this silliness. This is a moment where we need trusted news sources that are covering the issues that matter to us, that are speaking truth, that are uncovering lies, and are being completely unbought, unbossed. And that's what we are here at the Black Star Network. I am talking to several people right now about developing new shows on the network. We want other different voices as well, because we understand that this has to be our focus 24/7, 365. So when you support this network, when you support this show, you are supporting an information platform that is speaking to our interests. And look, it's a lot more white folks also who are listening to us, who are watching us, because we speak truth on this network. And so support the work that we do. The millionaires and the billionaires, they're not funding us. It's going to be a bunch of billionaires sitting on that rostrum on Monday. And you know what? They are bending their knee. They are bowing down. They are kissing the ring. And I'm telling you right now, there ain't no ring that will be kissed on any orange hand. So contribute via Cash App by using the Stripe app. That's the QR code right there. If you are listening to us, you can go to blackstarnetwork.com to actually see the QR code. That's to contribute via Cash App. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Of course, send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 2003 7-0196. Back in a moment.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Next on Get Wealthy with me, Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, women of color are starting 90% of the businesses in this country. That's the good news. The bad news, as a rule, we're not making nearly as much as everyone else. But joining us on the next Get Wealthy episode is Betty Hines. She's a business strategist, and she's showing women how to elevate other women.
I don't like to say this openly, but we're getting better at it. Women struggle with collaborating with each other. And for that reason, one of the things that I demonstrate in the sessions that I have is that you can go further together if you collaborate.
That's right here on Get Wealthy, only on Black Star Network.
This is Tamala Mann.
And this is David Mann. And you're watching Roland Martin
Unfiltered.
California Governor Gavin Newsom previously said that he wanted to Trump-proof his state from the shenanigans that we're likely going to see. Well, guess what? He's now folded under pressure and will temporarily raise the American flag at the state capitol to full height on Inauguration Day, which is Monday, MLK Day. By tradition, flags at the U.S. Capitol and state buildings across the country are currently flying at half staff following the death of former President Jimmy Carter on December 29th. Now, President Biden ordered the flags to be flown for 30 days. Now, flags temporarily raised to full height will return to half staff on January 21st for the remainder of that mourning period, which ends January 28th, 8 days after the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief is sworn into office. Here's my whole deal here, Reese. Gavin Newsom is always talking big, lots of bluster, chest out, all of that. This is very simple. And I don't care what you say. President Biden signed in 30 days. President Jimmy Carter died. This is not the first time this has happened where flags are being lowered to half staff. It happened when Truman died and Nixon was inaugurated. So I'm sorry. I don't give a damn if the governor of Texas and the governor of Alabama and the governor of Florida are doing this. Stick to it. But the suck up starts now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a general election 2028 strategy on Newsom's part, but you got to get through the primaries first. And this kind of bending the knee to Donald Trump is not what I will say primary voters in 2028 are going to want to see. So I don't think that this stops Donald Trump from calling him new scum, or the Republicans in Congress, Mike Johnson being one of them, the Speaker of the House, putting conditions on disaster relief for California. I don't think it's going to make their relationship any less adversarial. So what is the benefit aside from perhaps, 4 years from now being able, if he were to become the nominee, which I'm not convinced he will be in any way, shape, or form, but let's say he were, he could say, well, I did da-da-da-da. Get the fuck out of here. Quit being weak, punk ass bitches. Republicans don't concede an inch. They don't surrender an inch to Democrats ever, 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 unless they get a very specific, tangible benefit that they can claim sole credit for and rub in Democrats' face. They don't ever do this kind of shit. They're not gracious. They don't do anything like that. So this is the disconnect that happens with why so many Democrats are disillusioned and disaffected and feeling like that Democrats aren't really up for the fight. Democrats are very quick to be like, oh, we don't have time for politics and this and the other. So that's all he had to say. Well, I'm not worried about where the flags are. I'm worried about stopping these wildfires. He could have said that and kept it moving. But they let Republicans, they let right-wing media, and then the people who regurgitate right-wing media attacks as questions dictate the conversation. So I think this was a weak move. If there was a 5% chance that this would actually help Californians, then I'd be like, hey, I'm pragmatic. I'm willing to make that change. I'm willing to make that exchange to humor Donald Trump for a whole day, go back to status quo with the flags being half-mast. But there isn't a chance in hell because every single Republican is going to be working on dragging Gavin Newsom's ass through 2028, 2029, period.
What I don't understand, Niambi, is this is real simple. If anybody criticizes you, the answer is very simple. Former President Jimmy Carter passed away. President Joe Biden signed this. Flags to be flown at a half-staff for 30 days. End of conversation. Have some courage.
But I think this is what Reese was alluding to a moment ago. Everybody thinks that if they appease Donald Trump and they appeal to his ego and play nice with him, that he won't bite their faces off. There's no evidence that that is the case. If anything else, this is going to make him despise you more, because one thing Donald Trump will pounce on is weakness. And this looks like a moment of weakness for Gavin Newsom. The fact of the matter is Donald Trump is probably not going to lift much of a finger to help California, and certainly not do anything that would make or elevate Gavin Newsom in the state's mind. Even though he can't seek re-election, this could be a part of his legacy, right? Like, how do you respond to this natural disaster? And Donald Trump isn't going to do much to help him succeed in that. He certainly has been very open about how much he despises Gavin Newsom and how much disdain he has for the state of California and the people in it. So I think this was a moment, like you said, that didn't really require a response. I mean, in some respects, Gavin Newsom made his own unforced error, because it wasn't something that everyone was clamoring to do. I mean, most of the people have done this are, folks in Republican states like Ron DeSantis and Ivey over in Alabama. So why he decided to do this is beyond me, especially because we know that Donald Trump will not concede one iota of additional resources that he doesn't have to the state of California and to the Newsom administration. So for me, I think this was a weak move. I don't think it puts him or the state in any better position. If anything, I think it helps to bolster Donald Trump's sensibility about his own self, because who is jealous of a dead man? I mean, somebody like Donald Trump.
Absolutely, and that's all this is. And so if progressives were looking to California Gavin Newsom to be the one with the spine and the backbone, clearly it's absent.
Yes. I actually am excited. I'm actually excited for Monday. I've never had an investment in the United States, not since I really became a deeper student of history. It's got to be broken apart. It will break apart. History tells us that. There are very few societies that don't. That's why they're stifling laughter in Beijing right now, even as they build these large land invasion crafts, which when they get ready to take Taiwan, it'll be very interesting to see. Retake Taiwan. I agree with Reese, of course, that this is a strategy for 2028. When our brother there in Niambi's home state of Maryland, the governor of Maryland, said, "I'm not the leader of the resistance, I'm the governor of Maryland." I think that too was a gesture, not toward Trump, but toward the voters base. And, whether it be Newsom or Wes Moore or anyone else who's saying, "I'm not jumping out there with the rhetoric, watch my actions," I think it's going to be an interesting next couple of years. I won't say 4 years, because Junior Varsity Vance has been very silent. I mean, there is a 25th Amendment. I don't expect that Trump will make 4 years. We'll see what in fact, this is my New Yorker came in the mail today. This is the cover of the New Yorker there, as you all can see. Elon Musk being sworn in as well. But finally, thinking, because yesterday, of course, was Dr. King's actual birthday, I was thinking a lot about our brother. Thank you, Roland, again for introducing me to being able to meet and chat for a second with Fred Gray down there from Alabama. Fred Gray said, "I fought with the laws I had." And we were talking about Fred Gray in class last night, and one of my students said, sometimes you extinguish a thing by pursuing it. And the happy warrior, Gavin Newsom, Governor Moore, of course, trying to position himself by pursuing the possibilities of American democracy. What they're going to reveal is there's never been such a thing. This isn't a nation. And it's just going to embolden the white nationalists. And when they break it up, it's not going to be put back together again. Then we can build something else.
Folks, today the confirmation hearings continued for the lackeys who Donald Trump is picked to be in his cabinet. One of them is Scott Bessent, who was questioned by Senator Bernie Sanders regarding a living wage. Now, Donald Trump, we all know, lied about, oh, I'm out here fighting on behalf of the working class. And all these idiots actually believed him, even though when you look at the policies that were passed by President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, actually benefited working people. And so what greater item that impacts working people than the federal minimum wage? This is Senator Bernie Sanders challenging Trump's Treasury nominee. And if you want to understand where they're coming from, watch this.
Right now in America, we have over 22 million workers who are making less than $15 an hour, and nearly 40 million people in our country earning less than $17 an hour. Shamefully, the federal minimum wage, despite the efforts of myself and other people here, have not been raised since 2009 and remains an unbelievable $7.25 an hour. Will you work with those of us who want to raise the federal minimum wage to a living wage to take millions of Americans out of poverty?
Senator, I believe that the minimum wage is more of a statewide and regional issue.
So you don't think we should change the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour?
No, sir.
Okay.
Again, for the people who were confused about exactly how these idiots are going to run, then that speaks to it. Also, during the hearing, I'm going to find this for you in a second. He was challenged regarding tax cuts, and it was this whole deal where he made it clear in terms of where they're going to come down on tax cuts and what is the most important thing. And the reason I find this, the reason I find this is to be laughable, because again, all these people who voted and they made clear that what matters to them is money. What matters to them are cuts for billionaires. Here was a back and forth between him and Senator Raphael Warnock.
So you believe that you believe that the tax cut that provided 1/4 of the benefits of the law to the top 1% and top 5% getting almost 1/2 actually benefited those at the bottom more than it did those at the top. Is that your testimony?
I believe.
How do you think his?
So because what happened earlier during the test, it was pretty funny. He literally said, which was weird to me. He literally said that if we don't pass these tax cuts, we're going to see an economic implosion. This is how crazy they are. Now, I think he said economic catastrophe. Greg, an economic catastrophe. People don't even realize when that bill was passed, it allowed rich folks to write off 100% of airplanes and yachts. But we could go on and on and on. It added 25% to the federal deficit. But this notion that, oh my God, if we don't extend these tax cuts, our economy is going to go straight to hell.
We know, don't we? We know exactly what this is about. Today's Financial Times headlines were kind of relating the story of how the banks are reporting record profits and looking forward to even more windfall in this Trump administration, and how they are, and in fact, one of the editorials urged these banks to really show their gratitude for the economy by, you know what, already not making sure that the people who put their money in the banks are better taken care of, but returning to their stockholders dividends. That's what they're doing. Everybody's lining up. And it's interesting, there was somebody, maybe it was Keith Olbermann, I'm trying to remember. He said, Trump isn't nominating folks, he's casting. In other words, he's casting. So when you see this fool Hegseth, this Christian nationalist, Christian soldier, Klan adjacent Christian soldier, who can't tell you what happens at the Pentagon or Department of Defense, that's inconsequential. He looks like the guy. Tulsi Gabbard can't even tell. Hegseth doesn't know the nation's in a sin. Tulsi Gabbard can't tell you what they do at National Intelligence, and we all know why she's being cast in the role she's being cast in. This man is sitting in Mar-a-Lago looking at people, and it's a vibes thing, but it's inconsequential because ultimately the people who really are using this fool as a signing pin, and should he stumble, have their Manchurian candidate ready in the waiting, Junior Varsity Vance, are these billionaires. And so now it's been announced, I think today was it, that the head of TikTok, the Chinese dude, is going to be sitting there next to Bezos and Zuck and Musk on the dais. So
and TikTok is sponsoring one of the inauguration balls, but go ahead.
Exactly. So, and a minute ago when I mentioned Fred Gray and Martin Luther King's birthday, of course, between his actual birth, the 15th, and Monday, it is an opportunity for us to really reflect on what we were pursuing in that civil rights movement. The beginning of this criminal enterprise in Philadelphia with the Constitution, the high point of perhaps a renegotiation of terms in the Civil War, Pickett, Gettysburg, or for that matter, Galveston with Juneteenth, and then Montgomery, Alabama, when another attempt is made to renegotiate. But every moment that we have challenged this state has resulted in the state revealing itself even more as a thing that can't be renegotiated. This is a thing, perhaps this pain will wake these poor people up, perhaps it won't. But maybe this time we will understand, whether it be Black Star Network fan base or whatever else we rebuild, maybe we'll understand that ain't nobody coming to save us. So we just gonna have to do this ourselves.
Reese, I love this one because I keep telling people why truth matters. Listen to this lie. I just want everybody to understand the line they are so good at. Listen to this.
We've heard much here today saying that we are at a record amount of energy production, and we know that's a canard. We are barely above where we were in 2020, and if we were to look at the Department of Energy projections for 2024 and 2025, we are well below those. The past 4 years, we have seen U.S. production constrained, and part of a fulsome sanctions program would mean that we need more energy production in the U.S. to make up for the loss of sanctioned Russian oil to protect the U.S. consumer.
Right, which is American jobs, which is American income, which one of the things we're going to have to deal with is the intangible drilling cost punishment that was actually put on all the independent oil and gas companies in my state and everywhere else that drives up the cost for consumers.
So I'm confused. Reese, we literally produced more energy than we ever have. That was a lie.
Right. Who cares? What difference does it make?
Exactly.
To the dumbass American public who heard lie after lie after lie after lie after lie and said, let's get Trump back in here. I mean, this is a fucking dream come true for the billionaire class who are probably somewhere doing some top secret exploration of Mars or some other country or some other goddamn planet to get to because they're wrecking the fuck out of this one. Okay? So all the tax cuts and all the other shit ain't gonna preserve the planet for them as billionaires. But they got an exit strategy anyway, Jeff Bezos. So it's crazy the way that these people gaslight.
I mean, this is a tweet from Steve Ratner, January 8th. Energy production is at a record high. Since 2019, the U.S. has produced more energy than it consumed, and that surplus plus grew under Biden. This is the chart right here. And way more than Bush, energy guy, way more than Obama, way more than Trump. And it's like, oh yeah, we haven't produced enough energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And guess what? Who do you think they're going to believe? Their Fuhrer or the fact?
Wow.
That's how this works. So we're living in a whole new world where Republicans don't have to deliver in order to not have to pay a political price. I think that we're heading, to Dr. Carr's point, towards the destruction of this experiment, because they've made some big promises. Yes, they've talked about the trans shit. Yes, they've talked about the deporting, mass deportation. But there are tens of millions of people that have voted for Trump with that as the cherry on top. But they also want, and they're expecting, to see some sort of relief in their pocketbooks. They're expecting that they're going to keep their Obamacare, that they call them the ACA now, that they're going to keep their $35 diabetes medication. There are a lot of people that are expecting that all the shit that they saying they're going to do that would hurt them, they not really going to do that. They just going to do all this fucked up, hateful shit that I really want them to do. But I'm going to keep my eggs, and I'm going to keep my diabetes medication. I'm going to keep my insulin. And they're in for a rude awakening. And when that happens, I don't know if we have to worry so much about elections. I don't know if we have to worry so much about gerrymandering. I think they're going to be bigger fish to fry than what's going to happen at the ballot box. And who's going to be the ones who have to be looking over their shoulder the most? It's going to be Republicans. So right now, the country is in the find out stage, and pretty soon the Republicans that have so much carnage and so much pain that they are planning to inflict on us, that they think they're going to be able to completely gaslight us around, they're going to be in the fuck around phase soon. So I'm going to sit back and I'm going to continue to speak truth and call out what's ahead of us. But this is going to get really, 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 really ugly. And I think it's going to get ugly very quickly.
Nyambe, guys, at least go back to my iPad. Again, for the people, and this is why, y'all, we operate in facts. U.S. yearly average oil production. See 2008, 5 million barrels a day. You see 2017, about almost 9 million barrels. Then it went up in 18, up in 19. It goes down in the COVID years of 2020, 2021. Last 4 years, Biden-Harris, up, it was up. We're past 13 billion a day. But, oh my God, it's been horrible. It's been terrible. We have not produced energy. I don't know what's going on. It's just, we got to do more. Oh, they've been restricting people. The reality is, the Biden-Harris granted more oil permits, and the oil companies are like, yeah, no, we good. We ain't trying to drill more. No. Yeah, they literally have been like, no, we ain't trying to drill more, because they're not trying to produce more oil, because if you do that, the price of oil goes down.
Goes down, exactly. But I think this is what Reese is talking about, right? Like, just basic common sense. The more of something that you have on the market, the less you can charge for it. So it is no one's interest, certainly not these energy companies, to produce more and more and more. I think if they have these delusions of grandeur that we're going to be exporting American oil all over the world and trying to make ourselves into like the middle of the West, kind of like a challenger to the Middle East, they're sorely mistaken. And I don't even think they have designs on that. I think it's something to say that gets people riled up, but most people have no idea what any of this means. All they want to see is the price at the pump go down. I don't think that's going to happen any sooner under this administration, and certainly not when they're talking about extending these tax cuts from 2017 that will add $4 trillion to the national deficit that they claim to care so much about. Then, mortgage interest rates are going up, right? Like they're over about 7% now, somewhere in there. So this economy that this administration is already, that they promised all through November, but they're already walking back from. They've already told us, we don't know if we can actually get groceries any cheaper than the Biden-Harris administration got them for you. So, the price of eggs, you're just going to have to eat that one. With the oil production, I mean, again, at what cost? Because certainly the oil companies are not going to be hiring more bodies. They're not going to be building new refineries. Like, none of that stuff is happening. Like, the stuff that they promise people, I mean, it's really like the Scooby-Doo logic of it all, right? Like, I'm going to tell you I can do all this great and wonderful stuff, but nobody ever asks, how does it get done? And when you ask those people how it gets done, they do things like Bassett and other people who were confirmed today. Well, we don't want to get ahead of the administration, or whatever Donald Trump says he wants to do, then we'll start working on the plan. Well, that's kind of not how this stuff needs to work. If you're going to be essentially the chief economic officer of the United States, you need to have a plan about how to bring maybe some of these things down that people care about, like interest rates and gas prices. You can't just say, well, we need more oil. Like, that's not how this is going to work. It's never worked that way, and they know that. But Americans pretend that they care about any of this stuff, and they don't. They care about the meanness. The pain is the point. And I think Reese said it best, which is, this isn't about facts or any of that. People want the stuff that they want, but they want all the poop to roll downhill and get on everybody else's shoes and not theirs. And then, unfortunately, that's not how it works, because what these people don't understand is they're part of the class of people that Donald Trump actually doesn't interface with often and can't stand. And I think that's the part that's really maddening, because people are voting against their own interests and bringing us along with them.
Like, I love how this fool think we really dumb when it comes to tariffs. Listen, listen to this fool. Now, y'all, mind y'all, this dude worth more than $500 million. This to me is funny. Listen to this.
I believe these tariffs, you can call it whatever you want in terms of trying to gussy it up. They're going to be paid for by our workers and small businesses. All through the campaign, we heard they weren't, that foreign countries were going to pay it. I think that's baloney. It's going to be paid for by workers and small businesses. So, your response.
Yes, Senator, I would respectfully disagree. And the history of tariffs and tariff theory, optimal tariff theory, does not support what you're saying. Traditionally, we see that the current, if we were to say use a number that has been thrown around in the press of 10%, then traditionally the currency appreciates by 4%. So the 10% is not passed through.
He act like we didn't see this in between 2017 and 2021, when the tariffs were slapped on China, soybeans, milk, and other products. Farms failed. They went bankrupt. The American taxpayer, guess what? Trump handed out $25 billion to these farmers because of his dumbass tariffs. Reese, go ahead. They just, like, first of all, this is the sequel. This is like, how many Fast and Furiouses have we had? About 11, 12, 13? Like, they act like we ain't seen this movie before. This is a sequel, boo.
Well, here's the thing. Fuck all that shit about theory, optimal theory. We're not talking about theory. We are talking about the specific tariff announcements that Donald Trump has made. And there has been solid economic analysis on the specifics of what Donald Trump has announced, which is not good optimal tariff policy. It's bullshit. It's tariff policy that is based on fiction, that we have some sort of border crisis that is going to be applied to all goods coming from multiple countries. That is not how tariff policy done correctly is supposed to work, where it's supposed to target specific industries or specific products. That is not what Donald Trump is talking about. And so, unfortunately, yes, we do have a lot of people, I won't call them dumb, because not everybody is expected to know tariff policy, but, you know, a lot of people have the false impression that tariff money is free money for the United States, that tariff money is paid by the citizens of the countries to which the goods that are that the tariffs apply to come from. The tariffs are paid by the importer, and the importer passes those costs along to us. So if you don't believe that after being told that that's what happens, then you're a dumbass. If you didn't know that beforehand, I forgive you. But now you understand that. And so what this guy is talking about is bullshit because he's trying to pull in this hypothetical that is not anyway in the ballpark of what Donald Trump has announced. So we have a person who is going to be over our Treasury Department that's going to gaslight and lie. Let's assume he knows the truth, which maybe he doesn't. And so he's a dumbass too, who is going to steer us in an even worse direction than just going off of Donald Trump says stupid stuff and nobody believes he's really going to do it because he has competent people in office. That was the last time. This time, we're fucked.
I mean, I found the clip where he was the economic calamity. If y'all want to laugh, listen to this here.
This is the single most important economic issue of the day. This is pass-fail, that if we do not fix these tax cuts, if we do not renew and extend, then we will be facing an economic calamity. And as always, with financial instability, that falls on the middle and working class people. We will see a gigantic middle class tax increase. We will see the child tax credit halved. We will see the deductions halved. So it will be what we call in economics, it has the potential for a sudden stop. And as I said, traditionally with these sudden stops, it falls on working Americans.
He's right. He's right about that because the rich don't pay. So, of course, it falls on the working class Americans. But this is the thing. Bassett is defending those who have sent him there. They will continue to loot the Treasury. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, of course, Musk already, and Bezos increasingly with his whatever Blue Bayou, Blue Horizon, Blues, whatever his space dreams are sucking up federal tax dollars, our taxpayer dollars. Now, the thing that no one is paying attention to who voted for Donald Trump, and very few people who voted for Biden, or voted for Harris rather, are paying attention to, is that we live on a globe. We live in a world. Oil is increasingly less important. China has the huge share of the supply chain in lithium. We're talking about electric batteries. David Brooks was writing in the New York Times the other day, says that China's shipbuilding industry has a capacity of 230 times that of the United States right now. Their electric vehicles, the reason that Elon Musk wants control and now will have control of the federal government, at least in the short term, sorry, Steve Bannon, your racist base probably not going to like it, and you already see what's coming, don't you, buddy? Don't you, buddy? Elon Musk is in bed with China, in part because BVD is eating the lunch of Tesla. And BVD is BYD rather, is the biggest electric vehicle producer in China among many other big ones. The EU is terrified because they're trying to throw up protectionist forces to stop China, but China is exporting their trade deficit in terms of what they export and what they import now. Just reached, is it $1 trillion? I'm trying to remember in terms of, it's right at just south of $1 trillion. Canada's terrified because they have bad relations with China, and so they've got a toady up to the United States. But meanwhile, Mexico, Scheinbaum is throwing the middle finger because she's like, there's a world out there, baby. And what is going on right now with the BRICS and everything else, the world now will look away from the United States at the very moment that Trump and his fools, because they need to be elected to office, at least in the short term, are appealing to white nationalism, that they're going to try to argue that they need to be protectionist. You know what's going to happen? The food riots that people look at and say, that would never happen here. Get ready to throw hands in the Walmart. Get ready to fire off a fire shot in the Kroger or the Big Bear or the Piggly Wiggly. Why? Because supply chains are global, friends. And when you throw up them tariffs and you go protectionist to win elections, what you're going to end up finding out is the world is now moving. Everything from trying to find other reserve currency to try to figure out how to offshore some of this currency stuff into electronics. That's what they were talking about, the BRICS, when they were in Russia a few months ago. And China and Russia and Iran and all them places you scare people to so they can drive you to the polls,
They are trying to figure out how to work around the United States of America. They're just accelerating the inevitable, which was the collapse of this criminal enterprise anyway.
And of course, outgoing FBI Director Christopher Wray also made clear that the Chinese hackers, they ready to pounce when they need to. Listen to this.
What is the greatest threat facing the incoming Trump administration?
Well, the greatest long-term threat facing our country, in my view, is represented by the People's Republic of China, the Chinese government, which I consider to be the defining threat of our generation.
What has the FBI found about Chinese penetration of U.S. cyber and infrastructure?
China's cyber program is by far and away the world's largest, bigger than that of every major nation combined, and has stolen more of Americans' personal and corporate data than that of every nation, big or small, combined. But even beyond the cyber theft, there's another part of the Chinese cyber threat that I think has not gotten the attention publicly that it, I think, desperately deserves, and that is Chinese government's pre-positioning on American civilian critical infrastructure to lie in wait on those networks, to be in a position to wreak havoc and can inflict real-world harm at a time and place of their choosing.
The Chinese have already insinuated malware into critical American infrastructure.
That's correct.
Like what?
Things like water treatment plants. We're talking about transportation systems. We're talking about targeting of our energy sector, the electric grid, natural gas pipelines. And recently, we've seen targeting of our telecommunications system.
Now, let me explain, just so y'all understand why Trump is backing off TikTok. See, Nyambe, people need to understand the game. In the Steven Soderbergh movie, starring Andre Holland on Netflix called High Flying Bird, my man Bill Duke had this comment where he said they invented a game on top of a game. And so the Biden administration has punted to the Trump administration to make a decision regarding TikTok. Of course, TikTok was supposed to be shut down by January 19th, barring a decision, barring any changes. And of course, Supreme Court could very well drop that ruling on tomorrow. This is what The Verge says. Biden punts the TikTok ban to Trump. The Biden administration says it will leave it to incoming Donald Trump to figure out how to deal with the mess of TikTok. ABC News is reporting. So let's understand what's going on here, and I need people to understand. While Donald Trump sits here and talks loud about China and how they are a threat, let's not forget how many patents his daughter got in China when he was in the White House last time. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget the business dealings that Donald Trump was doing with China all of these years. And see, again, when they own you, when they control you, then it's a little hard for you to sit here and whine and complain about what they're doing, because you got to remember, Donald Trump talks so much that he reveals so much when he does. This is Donald Trump years ago on Letterman. Watch this.
I have nothing against China. I just hate that their leaders are so much smarter than our leaders. 2016, we will not be the world leader anymore. We have been always. But in 2016, China becomes the great economic leader.
Even if Mitt Romney is elected, he says that
maybe you can turn it around.
Well, do you think he could turn it around?
I think we can.
Do you think Mitt Romney can turn it around?
I think he can.
All right. First of all, let me pause that. That was an absolutely lie. What he predicted did not happen. But you know what? Let's let it continue.
He's the great economic leader.
Even if Mitt Romney is elected, he says that
maybe you can turn it around.
Well, do you think he could turn it around?
I think we can.
Do you think Mitt Romney can turn it around?
I think he can.
As a line of clothing. Now, where were these made?
These were made, I don't know where they were made, but they were made someplace. But they're great. It's ties, shirts, cufflinks, everything sold at Macy's, and they're doing great. #1 selling tie anywhere in the world.
#1 selling tie anywhere in the world.
That shirt,
you wouldn't wear that shirt?
We also have them in white and beautiful white.
Where are the shirts made? Bangladesh.
Well, it's good.
Okay.
We employ people in Bangladesh.
Ties? Where are the ties
they
made?
Have to work
These are
too.
beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China.
I'll tell you, and you know what, David, in all fairness, I've been very open about that, and not all of them, by the way, but I've been very open about that. Are you okay? Is the chair was
fine.
Made in China?
Yeah, I know.
The chair was made in China.
The chair was made in China.
You buy that at Macy's, by the way.
Let's just shut down the Donald Trump factory in Beijing.
I would love to.
And we'll put up a tie factory in Jamaica, Queens.
I love it.
And we'll make the Donald Trump tie.
I'm for it.
But the problem with that is they can't do that because they only want to pay $7.25.
Can't do it.
So again, what people need to understand is he's an idiot. Donald Trump praises the Chinese leadership for being so smart, so amazing. Niambi, it ain't that hard when you're a dictatorship, when you can throw people in jail, when you can just grab their property. There are no such things as, private laws, landowner rights, things along those lines. China's like, nah, we control and run every damn thing. I mean, that's how idiotic, all of this is when you listen to these fools. And here's the reality. He's going to kiss the ass of TikTok. And so the TikTok CEO is going to be sitting on the stage, all right? And so he's not going to let them ban TikTok because, again, we know who he is in the pocket of. And let me be perfectly clear. All of you idiots in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, all the battleground states. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in Alabama, Florida, Texas, Arkansas, South Carolina, Mississippi. Y'all don't understand. Y'all about to get jacked. Y'all broke asses are about to be left high and dry. And so then they going to change the script on you. Then they're going to bring back caravans. Here comes the caravans. Here comes the caravans. Then they're going to bring up, there's transgenders. Look at them. They're trying to walk into our bathrooms. You idiots fell for the banana in the tailpipe. And now you're about to get flogged with that same banana that was in the tailpipe, Niambi.
Well, look, all of this is distraction because, as you know, America doesn't really want a real trade war with China because, as you noted, when we did it in 2018, 2019, 2020, it was a lot that happened, not just to farmers, tech industries. I mean, you had hundreds of manufacturers saying, please stop this. They estimate hundreds of thousands of Americans lost jobs because of our last trade war with China. I mean, the United States was looking so inward that it failed to look what China was doing. China is all over Africa right now. China is building highways and doing all kinds of stuff. And you know why? Because they want those natural resources to manufacture the batteries and the pieces that go inside of our phones and inside of those electric vehicles. Because it's not in the manufacturing of the car, it's in the parts. And they know that. And then when you look at China's own infrastructure, I mean, they have maglev trains that can get you from Shanghai to Beijing in a matter of hours. And we can barely get from D.C. to New York in 3 hours because we have such terrible infrastructure. So we don't actually really want to go to war with China in trade and in tariffs. It's a fun thing to say because Donald Trump wants to be an autocratic leader. Donald Trump wishes to be like the people and the leaders of China and Russia and all these other places. That's what he actually wants to be. I think what people fail to realize, though, is at the end of the day, Donald Trump is a businessman. So he will still make money in that same China and with those same Chinese government and government officials that he lambasted today. And then he's going to tell you, as you said, it was the immigrants that started the fires. It was the immigrants that are taking your jobs. It's because of something else that you're experiencing inflation. But Donald Trump is over here, you know, telling you to look at this hand, but this hand is over here in the pockets of somebody else. And most of them going to be these very same middle class and poor folks, working class folks that you talk about in all these states that voted for him because he's going to stick it to China. I mean, the United States lost that battle a long time ago. And I don't know that people are prepared for what it will cost us in real time.
And the reason I laugh, Reese, I laugh at all these people who talk about, oh, you know, we look at what China, what they're doing. Like, for instance, this train that goes 248 miles an hour, this right here. And they're like, I don't understand. Why can't, guys, come on, go to my iPad. What are y'all doing? Go to my iPad. Let's go. Why can't we have that in the United States? Well, let's see, because it's the Republicans who have been blocking the transportation dollars for high-speed rail, because guess who has been sitting here saying don't do that? The airline industry, because they know that if you go on the train that's moving 240 miles an hour, damn, I don't need to fly. And that now means airplane monopolies now are going to have competition. We don't want that because we need to keep making record profits.
Yeah, all of that. Unfortunately, I wish that I could say that Donald Trump being a businessman is something that means that he will ultimately succumb to logic and reason and fiscal responsibility, because there's no evidence of that. I mean, he's been bankrupt multiple times. He made the deficit far worse. He owns 25% of the deficit since the beginning of the deficit, as in one 4-year term. And he is insisting on things that have no economic sound reasoning. And he's surrounding himself by sycophants who will absolutely not be a check on him. And so while I would love to believe that a lot of this stuff was bluster and cooler heads will prevail and eventually logic will rule the day, I don't have that confidence. I would love to be pleasantly surprised by that, but I don't have that confidence. And to your point, Roland, about how different industries have obstructed this, I want to go back to the good old days where billionaires just jetted off to Davos, or they had their yachts in Saint Tropez. They left us the hell alone. Now they're not happy with that. They are here to fuck up as much shit for us as possible. Okay? Taking over the newspapers. They already own the social media companies. All of this stuff is to just infiltrate and just make sure they take over of every part of American life to squeeze as much profit out of us as possible in things that weren't supposed to be the most profitable enterprises. There was supposed to be some profit, but it was supposed to serve the people of this country. And that's who we've handed the keys over to. So forget about progress on getting places quicker, getting places easier, on getting places cleaner. Forget about all that. Forget about your prices going down. Forget about your quality of living going up. All that shit is out the window with what these people have planned for us for the next 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, all I'm simply saying from folks, y'all better understand, hold your wallet, because guess what? Guess what? The richest cabinet ever, they're coming for it. They are going to rape and pillage America. They are going to have an assault on the U.S. Treasury you've never seen before. The Republicans are going to all of, that money that was passed to increase IRS agents. Oh no, the Republicans are getting rid of all of that because they need their rich donors to have more money. And all of you fools and let me just go ahead and say it. All of you FBA, B1 people who are out there yelling about how more checks were coming and Trump was sitting here. Y'all wanted tangibles. Oh, Trump was going to give you tangibles. Oh, you can bank on the tangibles that Donald Trump is going to give you. It's going to be a foot in your ass. And your mama and your daddy and your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles and your cousins and your friends. And then I'm just letting y'all know, Reese, Greg, Nyambi, myself, and others are going to be sitting here looking at y'all going, it's above me now.
Mm-hmm.
Because y'all were some dumbasses who spent 4 years shitting on Biden. Then you shit on Vice President Harris. Y'all said she wasn't a sister. Y'all talked about how she cooked collard greens. Y'all acted like some assholes about Hillary and hot sauce. Y'all talked about all this sort of stuff like this. And you knew what y'all to get? Butt-naked nude model First Lady Melania Trump. What y'all about to get is the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon in chief Donald Trump. And then I want to hear y'all yell about tangibles. And all y'all who were talking all y'all trash, how y'all just dogged everybody and y'all like reparations now or no vote. I ain't hear it come up in the Treasury Secretary hearing. Mm-hmm. I ain't hear it come up in anywhere else. So I'm just letting all of the BS I heard the entire election. I can't wait to hear what y'all got to say. Beginning at 12:01 p.m.
They're going to blame the Democrats.
And don't forget the tether conversation, because we have a South African billionaire who's about to be the president.
No, two. Yeah. No. 3. Musk, Peter Thiel, and David Sachs. All 3 of them are apartheid. All 3 of them are white men from South Africa. Mm. Yeah, but all these Negroes, all y'all, I know, but some of y'all brothers out there, I saw y'all tweets and y'all posts. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how y'all asses went silent. Mm-hmm. See, I could start naming some names. Philip Scott, Boyce Watkins.
Don't do it.
Vicky Dillard, Tariq Nasheed. All that stuff y'all were talking. Let me know what's coming black folks' way with the billionaires running the show.
But don't forget.
Immigrant.
Go ahead, Greg.
We're shields for the Democrats, and this is for...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Right, we're shields. Not that we fight on behalf of black people. Not that we fight. Not that we look at policy and fight on behalf of black people. In fact, ain't it interesting that all these some bitches been real quiet about pardons and clemencies? And so, it's amazing. It's amazing. Greg, go ahead. Make the final point before I go to break, because I'm going to start cussing some folks out.
And this is the word, too, because I'm sure that this is going to be clipped and debated on YouTube sites that call themselves radicals. These are the folks who would say they're on the radical left. A word to you, our friends. You speak English, you live in the United States of America, you pay taxes, and somehow you think that protest and self-determination are only available when there are Democrats in power. Get your big girl panties on and your big boy panties on. And I expect to see you out there on the National Mall on Monday. Because all that stuff you talked about, Cop Mala and Genocide Joe, even as Trump is praying that his murderous friend Bibi Netanyahu can rein in that crazy-ass defense minister in Israel so they can get a vote and get this thing off of his plate before Monday, I expect to see you all out there giving exactly as much or more hell to these folks who are now in office than you did, because didn't you see how quickly Gaza disappeared from the headlines? Mm-hmm. Didn't you see how quickly all them protests and all them arguments that were made disappeared? Guess what? I think the young people say, what is that little phrase? Keep that same energy. Mm-hmm. Don't want to hear it, my friends. Don't go stick your nose in reading another line of Fanon or Marx. No, get your ass out there. Expect to see you at noon on Monday, because it's time for the revolution.
All right, going to a break. We come back. Rudy Giuliani has a settlement with the 2 sisters who've been on his ass because he defamed them. Also, Vice President Kamala Harris continues a VP tradition since the 1940s. I will show you what that was. I was right there watching it happen. And we'll talk about the 2 cases, black folks not getting justice out of D.C. and Louisiana. You're watching Ronald Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $6.65 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. There's a lot of talk about the inevitability of another civil war in this country. But on our next show, we'll talk to a noted author and scholar who says we're actually in the middle of one right now. In fact, Steve Phillips says the first one that started back in 1861, well, it never ended.
People carrying the Confederate flag, wearing sweatshirts saying MAGA Civil War, January 6, 2021, stormed the U.S. Capitol, hunted down the country's elected officials, built a gallows for the Vice President of the United States, and to block the peaceful transfer of power within this country.
On the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
I was challenged by my uncle early on, before I even had a career. Like, I was maybe 8 years old, and my uncle said, "What do you want to do?" And I told him I wanted to be a rapper. And he said, "Okay, well, I don't know anything about the music business, so what you should do is learn everything there is to know about the music business, and I'll make sure that you have the resources to push you through." And so I went and bought books, All You Need to Know About the Music Business, hit me, and I just went and bought a bunch of books, just started reading as a 10-year-old, just reading. And so I learned, all things licensing, mechanical rights. I learned about publishing, learned about how composition is broke up into two pieces, the writer's portion and the producer's portion. But by the time I actually learned, I came back and I was ready to okay, I got it. He would go into prison. So I had all this information.
All this knowledge.
All this knowledge.
You like, well, what I'm going to do with it now?
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Federal prosecutors announced they are not going to pursue criminal charges against the cops involved in the beating death of Ronald Greene in Louisiana in 2019. Greene was a 49-year-old black man who died following a police chase that spanned a parish in Louisiana, ending in a violent encounter when Louisiana State Police troopers beat him. Now, they lied to his family, saying he died in a car accident. The body camera footage showed, which was kept from the public for years, showed troopers punching, beating, and repeatedly using a stun gun on a shackled Greene as he pleaded for mercy. In connection with the state case, the officer who dragged Greene by his ankle shackles pleaded no guilty last year to misdemeanor battery. Another defendant is scheduled to enter a similar plea this week. The Greene family's federal wrongful death lawsuit remains unresolved, having been put on hold while the criminal investigation were underway. Also, no charges will be filed against two Metropolitan D.C. police officers who shot and killed a black man in a McDonald's drive-thru. The U.S. Attorney's Office for D.C. said there was insufficient evidence to pursue federal criminal or civil rights charges in D.C. against the officers who fatally shot 25-year-old Justin Robinson on September 1st. They said that the USAO office, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office, along with D.C. Police's Internal Affairs Division, conducted a comprehensive review of various forms of evidence, including physical evidence, surveillance video, body-worn camera footage, audio recordings, recordings from nearby cameras, witness statements, autopsy records, and Metropolitan Police Department reports. According to police, Robinson was found unconscious in his car in the McDonald's drive-thru for approximately an hour before the vehicle moved forward and crashed into the building. During the investigation, officers noticed a gun in plain view on his lap. When an officer attempted to retrieve the weapon, a struggle ensued, and Robinson refused to let go of the gun and reached for the officer's weapon. That's when the officers fired into the car, killing Robinson. I'm very surprised, Greg, by that Ronald Greene case. The fact that they viciously beat him. They lied to the family saying he died in a car accident. I mean, I'm very surprised they cannot pursue federal civil rights charges against those cops. And then they lied. They obstructed the investigation. They lied to Louisiana State Police. I mean, this was one of the most shocking and most egregious examples of police misconduct.
It absolutely was, Roland. Of course, you're absolutely correct. And the obstruction, it seems to me, that like you said, the obstruction charge would be the easier charge to make. It's difficult to really convey how the undermining of civil rights law that took place after the passage of the Civil War amendments during Reconstruction, particularly the 14th Amendment, has been a steady erosion. It isn't that those amendments and legislation pursuing them couldn't be effective. It's that judges have narrowed the meaning. So in these cases, federal civil rights cases, this takes you back past Cruikshank, or coming forward, United States versus Price, which was the so-called Mississippi burning case. The courts have decided you have to prove intent. In other words, you almost have to have somebody saying, I am intending to tase you because you're black. I mean, it is absurd, but that isn't because of the statute. That's because of judges that have interpreted it that way. So again, tying it back to this question of Trump and elections and all, elections matter. The judges are the ones who are interpreting that. That's why finally Department of Justice can say, we're not even going to bring the case. Why? Because we can't meet the threshold of the intent burden. Now, of course, the civil cases go on, and you'll probably see what we've always seen, which is they'll write a check. But that isn't the point. The law has been created. Bad law has been created.
Indeed. And I mean, we've had Ronald Greene's mother, Reese, on this show so many times, and I just certainly feel sorry for them because they got no justice from the state, now no justice from the feds.
Yeah. It's like you said, Roland, this has been covered so many times. And as a society, and to Dr. Carr's point, through judges, we've decided that we are okay with writing 10, 20, $40 million checks when somebody has been killed by the police every time, as many times as it takes, before we will ever curtail the kind of behavior and implement consequences for that behavior. So when you're wondering why this department ain't funded because we're paying out $100 million in liability lawsuits in this state and that city and this it's because they always want to reserve the right to kill black people with indemnity. And now with Donald Trump being the next president, he's already said that's just going to be the law of the land, is indemnity, period. So we don't even have to have this conversation. We don't have to go through litigation. We don't have to go through these courts. We ain't got to have none of that shit. They can just do whatever the hell they want to do. And maybe that will eliminate having to even have civil judgments in that case. So to whatever extent that has been the implicit bargain, it's about to get a whole lot more explicit now.
Niambi.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is sort of par for the course. I mean, we've seen this so many times, and I don't have any faith that there will be any authority stepping in anytime soon to defend the lives of black people. Unfortunately, these families and these communities are devastated while, folks are talking about evidence, this, that, and the third. I mean, a man is dead here, right? Too many men and women are dead in cases like this. And in the case where, the officers lied, at the very least, there should be some penalty for that. And yet you see courts, other legal authorities, our federal Department of Justice seeming to walk away from black people when they are most distressed. So while I think many of us are disappointed, none of us are surprised, because this happens to us and our communities routinely. And there seems to be no desire, except for the folks in those communities, in our communities, to hold anyone accountable. And it's just unfortunate that these kinds of incidents don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon. And we will be here, I'm sure, sometime this year having the very same conversation.
Let's also talk about another action that the Department of Justice has taken, and that relates to voting rights. They have sued a locale in Tennessee for denying African Americans the right to vote who it is they actually want to vote for. Kind of important. We've seen this happen so many times across the country. And so, according to the Department of Justice, what took place was a violation of Section 2. The Fayette County's Board of County Commissioners violated Section 2 during the 2021 redistricting by deliberately rejecting multiple districting proposals that merged black communities to allow black voters to elect a representative of their choice. DOJ officials in the lawsuit say that the rejection ignored the guidelines and recommendations of the commission's redistricting committee and the advice of an attorney it hired for the very process. And so here we are, folks, still fighting these battles. They continue over and over and over again. Let's talk Rudy Giuliani. A settlement has been reached in that particular case. You know, of course, he constantly defamed two black Georgia workers, and so he kept lying. Well, he got hit with a massive judgment, but they reached a settlement on Thursday. The agreement involves the ownership of Giuliani's Florida condominium and 3 World Series rings, which will be used to satisfy a $148 million defamation judgment against him. The settlement eliminates the need for a trial that was set to start this morning, with Giuliani scheduled to be the first witness. However, he did not appear in court. The former Georgia election workers secured the judgment against him, but the settlement terms were not disclosed. And so, listen, he's so scared of getting all his stuff taken. But when you kept opening your mouth and you kept defaming, this is what happens. And here's the thing that's hilarious, Reese. All these idiots did all this stuff to kiss Trump's ass, and Trump don't care about that boy. He ain't trying to help him out. And so this is how dumb they are, Reese. You screw up your life. You get disbarred defending that piece of crap, and he never cared about you.
I know. Did he ever pay that invoice?
Hell no.
Because I could have sworn he wasn't even paying Rudy Giuliani's retainer.
He owed Rudy more than $3 million.
That's what I thought. But he ain't gonna take Trump to court. You know, don't write a check that your ass can't cash. That's just rule number 1 when it comes to talking. So the fact that he inflicted that damage, that tangible damage on Ruby Moss and Shay Freeman it's so disgusting. And I'm glad that they kept their foot on his neck. I love to see black people being litigious. I love to see it, because they will sue us in the heartbeat. And each other. So yes, to see 2 black women being litigious and taking this as far as they need to take it, I don't hope it's something else that's in there, because some rings and a condo, that's cool and all, but didn't they win $100-some million? I want to see him pay up, and I want him to be, for the rest of his life, paying these 2 women what he owes them, because what he did was so uncalled for, so unprovoked, and it needs to send a message that they can't do that again.
I don't feel sorry for his lying, dye dripping down his forehead ass Nyambi.
And no one should. I mean, because who was feeling bad for Ms. Moss and her mom when this was all happening? Right? Like, who was feeling sorry for these women who are not public figures, who were doing what they thought was responsible? This is what we encourage our citizens to do, right? They're doing their civic duty. This was supposed to be a day in their life. Instead, these women had death threats made against them. People were doxing them. They couldn't stay in their own homes. I mean, this is appalling. And the fact that these women have said, we are not going to give up on this. We're not just going to shrug our shoulders and walk away. Now, they might have let him keep those rings that allegedly were gifts to his son, but they still got that New York apartment. And they still got not everything that's coming to them, but they still got something. And I'm saying that these women didn't ask for this. Rudy Giuliani did this. He had many opportunities to stop. He had many opportunities to stop encouraging the hatred and the violence towards these women, and he didn't. And I think, even calling it defamation feels almost too light for what these women had to endure. I mean, we saw those women sit there and cry about how they had been treated and how they were afraid for their lives and the lives of their family and their children in their lives. I mean, this was egregious. So I'm with Reese. I hope they get everything they can get and more, because Rudy Giuliani knows better than anybody else what the legal ramifications of his actions were. And he still kept doing it. And this is, again, another person who sacrificed themselves at the altar of Donald Trump. And I'm sure Donald Trump, his billionaire friend, isn't going to try to help him make this settlement.
And Greg, I still would love to do our show from that New York apartment.
Well, here's the thing, Ron. It's not clear to me, because the reports that I'm reading say that he's going to keep the 10-room apartment on the Upper East Side, his vintage Mercedes being convertible, and the signed DiMaggio jersey and all that, and that Ms. Freeman and Ms. Moss lawyers said through their legal team that they had agreed to allow him to retain his property and other belongings, his most valuable stuff, in exchange for an undisclosed amount of compensation and a promise not to defame them again. The courts are a critical part of this. And what we have been saying since this story broke is this damn hillbilly horde is the other part. They continue to be harassed. They continue to be intimidated. He tweeted out or posted on social media a picture of a damn dog with a Trump tie on, saying he likes to spend time at Mar-a-Lago, but he's looking forward to going to Washington, D.C. I will not only be surprised, I would be surprised if, while Donald Trump is going to absolutely stiff him, the billionaire class that owns all of them won't take care of him. We don't know what they negotiated with them.
Oh, probably one of them rich folks stepped up and cut the check.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying, Roland. This is what I'm saying. Even as we saw Valley, and I ain't got no smoke for Mississippi Valley State coming to the inauguration. Why? Because they did a long article in the New York Times last week about Valley's basketball team taking these big budget L's to go play top-ranked Division I basketball teams in exchange for
$100,000. They money game, same as in football.
It's a money game. Absolutely it is. And if you look at the GoFundMe for the Mean Green Machine out of Valley, they are close to $300,000 now. And so who is donating? It ain't us. It's these money people. Giuliani is not only going to be fined, if he shows up in D.C. Monday, there's some people going to be shocked. I won't be one of them, because, these courts are a place, as Fred Gray says, we have to fight because it's all we have in that front. But never forget, that's just one piece of a larger force. And these two black women, the grandbaby being threatened, these hillbillies never give up until we realize we got to fight these crackers. We're not going to understand, because my first reaction was, why are they settling? And then it occurred to me, aha, it ain't just the courts. These devils go full spectrum on people. So it was probably better for them to take this check and leave the court out and let this man go so he can be redeemed by his white friends than it would be to go to court and go after something. I just don't know. I think we haven't seen the end of this. If he pops up again, don't be surprised.
Absolutely not. All right, folks, today at the Old Executive Office building, Vice President Kamala Harris marked her final days in the Biden administration by performing a task that other vice presidents have done since the 1940s. It's signing her desk drawer in the ceremonial Vice President's White House office. Of course, that started under President John F. Kennedy. The top drawer of the desk has been signed by various users since the 40s. The first vice president to use and sign the desk was former President Lyndon B. Johnson, who served as the #2 spot before he was sworn to the Oval Office After King's assassination, the event was originally scheduled for January 8th, but Harris rescheduled to focus on the raging wildfires in California. I happen to be here, so that was what we live streamed. But this was my perspective of the moment. And then you could get to hear also what she had to say.
Okay. Well, you knew if Opal was coming out, I was next, right? Alum from years and years ago and days ago here. And I saw so many of everyone who's here during the holiday parties, but I just have to say again, I am so proud of our team. And this is a team that spans many years of doing extraordinary work on behalf of the people. And as you all have heard me say many times, I am fully aware that I am the public face of a lot of our work. And so I have the benefit of running into people all over our country who thank me. And I will tell you, I am fully aware that when they are thanking me, they are thanking our team for the extraordinary commitment that you each have and as a team have to lifting up the American people, lifting up their condition, lifting up their hopes and dreams, and understanding through it all the nobility of public service. We have each taken on a life and a calling that is about doing work in the service of others, and doing it in a way that is fueled, yes, with ambition, yes, with a sense of almost stubbornness about not hearing no, and knowing we can make a difference. And I'm not going to go through the laundry list of all of our accomplishments. We know what they are. But I will tell you that everyone here has so much to be proud of. And our work is not done. And as you all know me, because we have spent long hours, long days, and months and years together, it is not my nature to go quietly into the night. So don't worry about that. But the ceremony of signing this desk is something that is especially important. So I hope everyone will get a chance to see the desk. But I have actually, I think with the exception of Truman and Eisenhower, met every person who has signed this desk, every vice president, former vice president. And, we don't all, all of them. In fact, I talked to Mondale, Vice President Mondale, just days before he passed. And I will say that although many of us might have disagreed, me and some of the previous vice presidents, on certain matters, policy matters, I think we all probably have shared a very common experience that is a through line as evidenced by the fact that we have this tradition of signing this desk since 1940, I believe. And it is the work of caring about our country. It is the work of understanding we hold these offices in the public trust with the duty and the responsibility to uphold the oath we take, to respect, to defend the Constitution of the United States, to do our work on behalf of the people of the United States. And so I stand in a long tradition as the 49th Vice President of the United States, in a long tradition of vice presidents who have signed this desk, and I do so with great honor and with the knowledge that our work here has mattered, it has meaning, it has impacted people we may never meet, people who may never know our name, but who are ever, forever grateful for the work that you each and we all together have done. So I thank you all, and with that, I'm going to pull out the sharp. All right.
Hold on. So a lot of the folks you saw there were staffers, individuals who had worked for the vice president, folks who had worked for her when she was in the United States Senate. And I'm sure somebody's out there saying, well, my goodness, we want to see the desk. And that's what I would say, calm the hell down. This is actually her signature on the desk. And I think what you see there, so you see she's signing with a Sharpie. And so then what they do is they come behind and then they actually, you see, carve it into the desk. So they're going to have some work to do to carve that signature into the desk, because that's got some flourishing going on there. You know, the thing is, I've talked to different people about, the VP, her demeanor. Matter of fact, after that signing, she and I had an opportunity to catch up a little bit. So people have been talking about, what's next, what's next. You heard her say, Reese, that I'm not going anywhere. There are thoughts. People have talked about, does she run for governor of California? Does she make a run in 2028? What happens next? What I would say, Reese, the first thing is completely cut off any and every one of the folk who are running your campaign. Right now, I would not be listening to Jen O'Malley Dillon. I wouldn't be listening to Stephanie Cutter, Quentin Folks, David Plouffe. The folk who took no responsibility at all for any decisions that they made. It was always blaming it on something else. And she really needs a fresh start. I think she needs to do a full examination of the campaign in terms of all that money that was spent, things along those lines. But look, the vice president also, has Secret Service protection for 6 months after. So come June, July, that changes. This will be the first time. I mean, from a security standpoint, this will be the first time she's not been a public servant since 2003. You're talking about 21 years. So now you're talking about hiring personal assistants and staff and things along those lines. Their home in Brentwood has been spared, but the question is, what's next? And so, from your perspective, what should the VP do next? Some say, hey, the hell with public life, go off and make a ton of damn money, her and Doug. Just your thoughts.
Yeah, I've been a Vice President Kamala Harris supporter since day one. So slight amendment, this will be the first time she's not an elected public official since 2004, but she has spent a life in public service. The biggest thing that I would say for VP is whatever she does, to lean all the way in her authenticity and in her perspective as a Black woman in this country. That's what I would suggest more than anything. Throw out the focus groups, throw out whatever the consultant class is telling you, throw out any doubts that you may harbor about the direction that you should go, and just stay true to yourself. And that's why I believe strongly, and I will die on this hill, that I think that July 2024 candidate Kamala Harris would have won the election. The pivot was too hard, and I feel like she kind of got away from what galvanized people immediately behind her when President Biden dropped out. So I think if she stays true to herself and she leans in on all of the things that made her so compelling to be the vice president and to be the presidential nominee in July, I think that she will have the sky as the limit. If she plays it very safe, if she still tries to be kind of everything to everybody and not step on any toes, then I think that maybe she should just go make some money, if that's the case. But if she can lean in and she could do her and her fullness, then I think that she has, the world is her oyster.
Niambi.
Well, I disagree with nothing that you or Reese have said, but I do hope this Black woman takes a minute. She deserves rest. 20 plus years is a long time to be a public servant, but the beating that she has taken over the last few months, everything from excavating her relationship with her father to discussing her racial background, the validity of her marriage, her relationship to her stepchildren, her education, her career. I mean, this woman has been brutalized daily for months. I don't know that any of us could stand up to that level of drubbing that she got over this election cycle. So my hope for Kamala Harris is to do whatever she wants for as long as she wants, to take a much needed rest. I hope she does cash out. I hope she does write that book and go on that speaking tour. But if she decides she doesn't want to do that, right? I do think that there's a lot of momentum still. I know the Democratic Party may not be the place where she finds that love and that care that she needs, but I think that Kamala Harris still has a lot of fire in the belly and some gas in the tank. And I think if she can move past what people say is politics, because politics, that playbook is out the window. Donald Trump showed us, right, that you can chart a whole new course. Mm-hmm. And I think if she can, I think something that Reese said, her authenticity was always, I think, a big selling point, and we saw moments of it and flashes of it. And I think if she can get there, like you said, these consultants, these surveys, all that stuff means nothing, right? It's how you make people feel. And I think if she can get back to that place, I think she can be governor of California if she wants to. I think she could go back to the Senate if she wants to. I think there are a lot of avenues for Kamala Harris. But I do hope, as one Black woman to another, that she takes a moment to renew her spirit and find herself for herself again, because she needs a very, very deep breath and a much needed vacation.
Greg.
I agree. Of course. I am not fluent in Black women's hair. But looking at her hair today and thinking back to Trump's first inauguration when Michelle Obama sent a message to all people who don't even have to be very fluent in Black women's hair to understand that she didn't give a damn and she's not coming this time. That slick back ponytail, I'm like, I see you. Thank you.
Yes.
I think she's through with that. We watched her at the funeral, glanced back and saw her friend kikiing with her open enemy and turned right back around, and Doug burnt 2 holes in the front of the National Cathedral that I'm going to see where those laser holes are, because he refused to look anywhere except straight ahead. She's got to be tired. Just a bit of housekeeping. We'll take the bust of Thurgood Marshall that was over her shoulder back. That came from the Howard University School of Law. Madam Vice President, try to get that back to us over the weekend, because I don't trust those hillbillies not to break it when they come in. They have no rules. But I will say this. Kamala Harris is an intriguing figure. The United States has fewer years in front of it than it has behind it. It won't be here in 200 years. So the post-presidency of James Earl Carter, will be the most successful post-presidency in the history of this criminal enterprise. I don't think there's any doubt about that. As she was signing that desk, I was reading to my students today from Dexter Scott King's memoir, Growing Up King, where he talks about the day they signed the Martin Luther King holiday into law. George Bush showed the King family that same desk and where he was going to sign. And so there's a lot of history in that room. Kamala Harris stands at a crossroads that really there's no precedent for in American history. As Dr. Carter said, as Nyabi said, Donald Trump is the living evidence that you can't excellence your way into the White House. Hillary Clinton, Secretary of State, you could be the senator. It doesn't matter, because when a white man stands up, gives that primal urge scream, whiteness answers, as John Henry Clark said. You can't be. I think the governor of California is intriguing. I think it would add to the resume. It would also give her a chance to manage a huge state with close to 40 million, 35 million people. I mean, it's intriguing. I don't know that would necessarily be something that she should perhaps pursue, or anybody would try to pursue in the next election cycle. But I'll end with this, and I think this is what's intriguing. And I agree with everything you said, Reese, about authenticity, and Niambi, everything you said about the things that she has weathered. I, for one, her father living in D.C., an incredible economist, it would be excellent for them to perhaps even publish something together, because his ideas about how to reform an economy coming out of what they were trying to do in Jamaica in the 70s, 80s are intriguing. And she has a background, of course, her major was economics at Howard. That would be intriguing if she can make it up. But I'll end with this. If the vice president, after having renewed and refreshed herself, can continue to stretch in that authenticity, as you say, Reese, and expand not only her thinking, but her deep kind of commitment to really articulating a vision. Not in 2028, not in 2032, if there's still a country, but at some point in the fairly near future. I don't know that the Democratic Party, which should implode at this point and be renegotiated, Jasmine Crockett and them ain't gonna stand for nothing less than AOC and everybody else, if not in the next 2 or 4 years, certainly in the next decade. Imagine an intellectually grounded, deep thinking Kamala Harris after having spent some real deep time thinking and working. Maybe the Supreme Court would be a nice ultimate destination, not in the near future, but let this thing play out and let's see what happens in this criminal enterprise, because who knows if it's going to be here, but if it is, it's going to have to be renegotiated, and maybe that's what Kamala Harris gets to end up being. William Howard Taft did it. Shit, Kamala Harris can do it.
Well, I'll say this here. I think that when you look at, there were people who certainly supported the vice president. There are people who supported her because she was running against Donald Trump. There are people who supported her because she was the Democratic nominee. I do believe what's important would be to create your own entity that gives you the opportunity to raise money, travel the country, to help other people get elected, still be able to advocate for your policies and positions, and still play a role in this country. And to Reese's point, to see your true self. I'm gonna say it again, I don't care. If there were anybody who were senior officials on her campaign, and I'm speaking of 4 people, the top 4, none of them should be involved in this effort. Jen O'Malley Dillon should not be involved in this effort at all. Because let me be real clear, there were some people who worked in her campaign who were responsible for dragging her name through the mud in 2021, 2022, 2023, and that was one of the reasons why her approval numbers were so low in 2024. Because see, they didn't think that she, and let me just be clear, there were some people in the White House, in the West Wing and the East Wing, who didn't want her to be there, who trashed her name, who leaked stuff to the media. We know who they are, and they don't know who they are. And they didn't think that 2024 was going to happen. See, they thought Joe Biden was going to be at the top of the ticket. And they didn't realize by sabotaging Vice President Kamala Harris in 21, 22, 23, literally trying to get her taken off the ticket, they didn't realize that actually hurt her immensely when they needed her the most in July 2024. So I would say there are some folk who may be around her who don't need to be around her, because if they're around her right now, they're around her for a check. But there is an opportunity, because here's what is going to be needed. What is going to be needed is going to be a real resistance. What is going to be needed is going to be a level of authenticity speaking to the issues that absolutely matter. What is going to be needed in this moment are going to be national Democratic leaders. Let's be honest, Obama has checked out. He pops in, he pops out. So his focus is his presidential center. We know that. Michelle Obama has made it perfectly clear, yo, I'm good with all of this. I don't need to be doing this. And that's fine. She doesn't have to. And she doesn't need to. But what is required right now, I know there are people, I can hear all the people talking about, oh, young leaders and all this sort of stuff like this here, but Vice President is 60. She ain't 82-year-old Joe. She still has vigor. She still has fight. And that is going to be needed. And let me be real clear. Running for governor, all this drama right now with the wildfires and all sort of stuff, like I don't see being the governor of California is a downgrade. Because while she was the first black female vice president and she wanted to be the first female president, she could also become the first black female governor in American history.
She would.
Yeah.
And the reality is, the California economy is the 4th largest in the world.
Exactly.
And what will be needed in 2027 and 2028 will be governors who are kicking the ass of Trump and Vance.
That's right.
And so fighters are needed. And I do believe that Vice President Kamala Harris, come 12:01 p.m. on Monday, will be unburdened by the shackles, the invisible shackles that were put on her, that invisible straitjacket and duct tape and handcuffs, where people were dictating what she could say and where could she go. Now she doesn't have those limitations placed upon her. And as Reese said, now she can be her true self. But the key is you gotta be your true self. And you gotta be willing to say what's necessary, even when it makes some other folks uncomfortable.
That's it. That's it.
Even when it makes some other folk mad. So I do wish her well. She got messed over in a huge way. And y'all heard me say it, and I've had it confirmed by numerous people, numerous Democrats, including some who served Joe Biden in the West Wing, did not want her on the ticket in 2024. They undermined her. They sabotaged her. And unbeknownst to them, they didn't realize that old Joe was going to be so feeble and screw the debate up so bad, they needed her. And let's be real clear. Even though Vice President Kamala Harris lost, she saved their asses.
She did. She did.
She saved their asses. Democrats came within 3 of winning the House. They won critical Senate races. And the electoral margin would have been a hell of a lot larger if she wasn't on the ticket. And I'm telling you, she did her part. But there were some folks who were running her campaign who were absolutely abysmal because they were so arrogant. They never listened to the other people around them who were warning them on what type of campaign to run, and listen to the ground and touch people on the ground. Instead, they'd rather spend millions of dollars on concerts. So, tough loss, but I think there's a serious future for the vice president. Last point here, I saw some of y'all commenting, you were asking. Yesterday I had the Bill Russell hoodie on. Matter of fact, I hate hoodies, actually. I do. I wish they'd cut that damn hood off. I just don't like hoodies. I don't like all that damn cloth in the back. I just do. Actually, I'll probably just take my hoodies in and just get all of them hoodies just removed and restitched. I just hate them. Just give me a crew neck. I'm good. So the brothers with Eastside Golf, when they were on the show, they actually sent me this. And so you see on the front, it says change. And on the back, you see what it says here on the back. So 1961 was when the PGA Tour lifted their Caucasian-only clause. And so they have a whole line of items. In fact, let me go over here. So I have them up here. I have not worn them on the golf course, but in addition to hats and hoodies and shirts, now just leave the camera right there, y'all. We good. Don't worry about it. They also partnered with Air Jordan for these 1961 golf shoes. Let me see if I can step back into the light. These 1961 golf shoes. And so again, the PGA Tour, so you had guys like Teddy Rhodes, Charlie Sifford, Lee Elder, and others, Calvin Pete, a long list, a lot of black golfers. There were a lot of great black golfers before Tiger Woods, y'all. A whole lot. But they could not play on the PGA Tour because they had a Caucasian only clause. And so this is one of the hoodies. And so this is the logo of Eastside Golf right here. And so shout out to those brothers in Atlanta. So I just want to show them some love rocking this today. All right, that is it for us. Niambe, Greg, Reese, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Thank you so very much. Folks, support the work that we do. I told y'all that we are going to sit here and swing hard every single day, fighting misinformation, disinformation, and speaking truth when other people are running and avoiding what the truth is. And so there will be no bowing down. No, there's not going to be, let's be civilized with them. Let's sit here and hear them out. Hell no. We do not make room for thugs and thuggish behavior. And so we are going to be truth tellers every single day for the next 4 years, like we've always been every day for the last 6 years. And so your support for us is critical. Again, the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, which of course is $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. We don't have millionaires and billionaires cutting us checks. So your donations are critical. And so there are multiple ways in which you can support us. Cash App is one of them. Now you can't give to us direct on Cash App because Cash App changed their rules and closed down all of our accounts. And so if you use Stripe, you can still give to us, and it's a lot easier. You can do it with Square as well, but it's too damn convoluted and complicated. So use Stripe. This is the QR code, or you can simply go to blackstarnetwork.com. You can see the QR code as well to use Stripe. I'll post this periodically on our social media as well. Plus, you can go to PayPal. You can give to us via PayPal. Of course, PayPal is paypal.me/rmartinunfiltered.com. If you want to give to us on Venmo, it's venmo.com/rmunfiltered. Zelle, 2 emails, roland@rolandsmartin.com, roland@rolandmartinunfiltered.com. Checking money order, you can mail to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. You can get my book, White Fear, How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. You buy that book, proceeds of that come right back into the show. Also, get your gear. Get your Roland Martin Unfiltered merchandise. Of course, our shirts, Don't Blame Me, I Voted for the Black Woman. Project Survive 2025 or Survive Project 2025. And then we may need to flip that, Keenan, because it makes more sense to say Survive Project 2025. Project 2020 or Project Survive 2025. I'm not sure about that one. But I do like hashtag we try to tell you FAFO 2025. So QR code is there as well, or go to rolandmartin.creator-spring.com or go to blackstarnetwork.com. And don't forget, download our Black Star Network app. All of our content is there. Recent interviews with Earth, Wind & Fire and T.I., plus the others. If you want to see the multi-part series when I went to Ghana and Liberia, it's there as well. So check all of that out, folks. Download on your iPhone, your Android phone. Also download on various devices, Android TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here on the Black Star Network. Y'all know how we always sign off. And yes, I'm rocking the black cowboy hat today. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?